Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Strip by Sia, and actually, welcome back. It's season 2, and I'm super excited to be recording still. So, what I thought there was going to be like a bit of a hiatus in terms of COVID, I just kept going on, and I just felt like, okay, August, it's time to launch season 2. So, here we are. Thanks again in terms of like old listeners, new listeners. I'm very, very, very excited to continue recording, and season 2 is going to be really exciting. So, to kick things off, I figured season 1 started off with a dominatrix. That's how it all kind of began. And in the same fashion, I wanted to have another dominatrix on. But we're going to mix it up, and we are going to be having a dominatrix on all the way from Singapore. So currently it's 7 a.m. my time. In Canada, it's 10 p.m. in Singapore time. We have Miss... It's very, very, very early. I have like severe morning voice right now in case you guys are wondering why she's that weird. We have the lovely Miss Amber Lush. I'm going to have to edit that. Wow, it's like so early this morning. We have Miss Amber Lush joining us this morning / joining us this evening. Say hello to the audience.
Hi.
Hi.
Thank you for introducing me so nicely.
You were so very welcome. That was a really long intro, but it was needed. Tell the audience who you are, what you do. Obviously, all we know about you is that you're a pro dom based out in Singapore. So please feel free to add anything in your own words, in your own terms, and go.
Okay. Hello, everyone. So I'm Miss Amber Lush, and I'm from Singapore, and I work as a professional dominatrix. I do this more or less full time. I have been in the business of professional domination for about 5 to 6 years now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. But prior to that, I was active in the kink community in Singapore for, I don't know, about 10 years, I guess. In total, I would say that I've been in the kink scene for 15 odd years now.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah.
That's a long time.
Been old that way.
Yeah. Okay, wow. There's so many questions here. And in terms of like how on earth did we get introduced and how did we meet? Basically, there's a sex educator and also sex worker, sex in general festival happening in Singapore, online of course because it is still COVID, happening started yesterday, I guess, at the time of recording. So August 1st to August 15th is the Sugar and Spice Festival, and we were supposed to be in a panel together. Unfortunately,
we were.
Yes.
Unfortunately, I had to pull out because of a family emergency, but I would have loved to be on that panel with you.
That's totally okay. But we still were able to get you on to this show, so I'm really excited about that. But yes, so thank you so much for your time and taking, I guess time to talk to us. I feel like I cannot talk this morning. But there's so many questions here too. So I guess, where did you want to start? Do you want to start with how you got involved with the kink community? I didn't know that there was like a kink community in Singapore, and how did that lead to doming? Like, what I thought that Singapore is like very, very conservative. I've been to Singapore. It's lovely. It's awesome.
Did you think it was very conservative when you were here?
Did I think it was conservative? I don't know. I was kind of there for work, so I was like there for a few nights. But I had an amazing time when I was there. It was such an amazing country, beautiful, and it's exactly what you see in Crazy Rich Asians. That's where most people probably know Singapore from. But
it's a bit like Disneyland.
It's awesome, and it is a small island. It's lovely. It's right by Malaysia. If you guys don't know where the hell Singapore is, but yeah, it's awesome. But I want to really, really understand, like, yeah, how did you get into pro doming? How did you get into the kink community? Like, what are your roots in terms of sex work?
Okay, so yes, there is a kink community in Singapore. and Singapore is pretty conservative. You're right about that.
Yes.
I mean, it is an Asian society, so there are a lot of Asian values, within the society. And kink is definitely very controversial.
Yeah.
And yeah, so it's not something that is widely advertised. It is very often sensationalized in media.
Okay.
So while we have a community, it largely operates underground.
Right.
Yeah, we don't have any bars or clubs that identify as being BDSM bars or BDSM clubs, not like in other countries.
Right.
Yeah, so munches are largely just held at restaurants who don't know what we're there for. And yeah, we do have like play parties, but they usually take place at people's homes. Or yeah, people's homes, or sometimes like I don't know, service apartments or large hotel rooms.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there's
never at like a club.
No.
That would not be legal. Yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like that would be shut down immediately /
Yeah,
getting fined.
probably. Yeah. Yeah, so no, they're not very accepting of. I mean, in general, right? The community is not very accepting of like anything that's alternative. So be it like kink or even LGBT, it's still something that's like growing here, I guess.
Oh,
yeah.
even with like LGBTQ, even that.
Yeah. Yeah, till now, yeah. I mean,
Really?
you do know, like, it's still illegal in Singapore.
Really? Oh, wow. And that's a whole nother topic. Oh my gosh. Wow, I didn't know that.
So yeah, we're not even at the stage where we can talk about like marriage between like LGBTQ people, but
Really?
yeah,
Oh my gosh.
even identifying as one is actually it's still considered illegal.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So although it is quite a modern cosmopolitan country, there are still a lot of there are a lot of undertones, I guess.
Right, there's a lot of archaic laws still and views too. I'm surprised that what we'd see. You would think it would be more of a progressive country, but I guess in those aspects it's still kind of behind the times a little bit.
It's not a law that is used in general, but it exists. So it is it's led to a lot of unhappiness for obvious reasons.
Of course.
Something that that people are constantly trying to get repealed, but it's taking a long time.
Yes. But at least there's people that are working towards it at least. So. Yeah. I guess with that, sorry, keep going.
Nice, yeah. So yeah, we do have a kink community. It's not that young now. When I first joined the community, like 15 years back, it was quite fledgling at that stage.
Okay.
Yeah, very, very, very new. So they used to have munches, like at bars, and it would probably be like 5 people.
Okay.
More or less.
Wow.
Yeah. Yes.
So you've seen
it's been very interesting to watch that grow.
Yeah, definitely.
Over the years, I think about 5 years back or so, the community really expanded. We started to see new groups seed within the community.
Wow.
Yeah, like the group for the under 35s.
Okay.
And then the group that I founded with a couple of friends with a focus on education.
Yes.
And then we had a few more come up after that. Yeah. Wow. So today there are, I don't know, at last count, maybe 5 or 6 in the community.
Yeah. Very cool.
Yeah. So it's a huge change, now and years ago.
Right.
Yeah, and the size of the community now is it's quite big too. A couple of hundred for sure, maybe even 1,000. No idea.
Wow, that's amazing.
Munches are big. They're usually full. So I mean, this was before COVID, of course.
Yes.
They could get easily like 30 to 50 people at a munch. Yeah.
Okay. Wow. There's so many things to unpack here. That's crazy.
So it's become very vibrant. a community. Still new, I think,
Mm-hmm.
in the sense that I would say we're quite new because if you look at like the skill level of the kinks in general, like in Singapore,
Yeah.
most people are still at the beginner or beginner intermediate level for everything.
Okay.
So we
Really?
haven't. Yeah, because I suppose it's because it's new, it's young,
Yeah.
so we don't have a lot of very, very experienced people within the community to kind of like level up the skill set in
Right.
general.
Yeah,
Yeah,
this is not quite enough yet. So
exactly. Yes. So that will take
interesting.
time and yeah,
Okay.
people like learning from overseas or whatever. Yeah.
Right. That's really cool too. For especially for you, because like as you said, you've been in the community basically since since its inception. I cannot speak this morning. Oh my god, I cannot talk. But yeah, it's just really really cool, kind of seeing that community grow. And you mentioned that you started one of the groups
Yes.
within. Can you tell
Yeah.
us more about that?
Okay, so the group that I started with two or three other people, I think today we have about five or six moderators or like community leaders of this group.
Okay.
Um, yeah, so we call ourselves SLAP, which stands for Singapore Learn and Play.
Okay.
And so the focus was on education because at that time we saw a huge like influx of people joining the scene, like and very young people too. I think this was
Okay.
around the time that 50 Shades became popular.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
yes. So the scene just like it just grew, almost overnight.
Really?
Um,
Oh my
yeah, yeah,
god.
yeah. Like it became cool to be kinky.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
There's so many problems with that movie and so many problems with that book series, but we could go into
Yeah,
that
but I
later.
guess it also made a lot of people more curious
Yes.
and keen to find out more. So so the scene that the group grew, and we had like very young people, approach some of us who are like more experienced, I guess,
Yeah,
and say and ask us like, so how do we do this? How do we start? What do we do? How do we even meet people? How do you negotiate? How do you plan a scene? All these
totally.
questions.
Yeah,
And I think at that stage, FetLife was already around, but it was not as uh,
like
well
prolific or
used, or it didn't
yeah,
have like all the resources that it has today. It was a bit tougher to find what you were looking for.
right.
So so in terms of resources, it was still like it wasn't quite there. So that's why we decided to like start this group to kind of just we ran like skill share discussions,
Oh, cool.
workshops, yeah, to
Wow.
just to grow that space in Singapore.
Right, right. Yeah, because there would be like a lot of curiosity because one like
Exactly.
yeah.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. So I mean, we weren't experts, but we did like fly people in, who were experts. Yeah.
Wow, that's really
Yeah. So it was.
amazing.
Yeah, it was a good excuse, I guess, to get these people in for
Totally.
our own sakes as well.
Yeah, you could be
Yeah,
selfish. That's okay.
yeah,
But let's
yeah.
I also want to like because you were stressing like the importance of education too because you had
Mm,
so like such an influx of curious young people joining this BDSM community. I also read on your website you're also a sex educator as well.
yeah.
Wow,
So
okay. So many things.
I taught. Well, when I started this group, I
Hmm.
ran a lot of the workshops, and so I did a lot of teaching myself.
Okay.
I also taught at conferences
Oh,
because we
wow.
we worked quite closely with the Hong Kong kink community.
Okay.
So they kind of held our hands, I would say, to grow this group because they already had quite a big focus on education. So
Okay.
in the beginning, they even came down, to help us like run the first workshop, for example.
Wow, that's
Yeah,
incredibly helpful.
yeah. Hong Kong's the community there's pretty cool.
Hmm.
They used to, I think, well, not this year, of course, and I'm not sure if they did this last year, but before that, I think for 2 or 3 cycles, they had a kink conference annually.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and it
That's
was
amazing.
quite a large affair, like easily, I don't know, 100 plus,
Wow.
to 200 people. Yeah,
Incredible. That's
yes.
awesome.
Yeah, so we worked pretty closely with them. And so when they had their conferences, I also went over to teach.
Very, very, very cool. That's such a great opportunity too, and
Yeah.
and it's so nice, for Hong Kong to be super supportive as well in terms of
Yeah.
like getting things off the ground and getting things started, and especially like how important that is in Asian culture too, because as you know, like part of the conference that we're supposed to be in, sex is pretty taboo, like just the topic of
Yes.
it. Yeah, so any kind of like community within sex or like any type of work is kind of like a hush hush conversation, or not even a conversation, I would say.
Yeah, I think it's actually difficult for a lot of people here to talk about it.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so this is really cool. So those are your roots there in terms of the BDSM
Yes.
community. Wow, that's incredible. There's so many years of experience there. So lucky to have you on the show to talk about this.
Thank you.
But I wanted to ask then, like, how did that, being in that community,
Go into pro-doming?
Yeah, exactly. How did that get you into pro-doming?
Okay, so there were plenty of factors, I would say. The biggest one would be that I left my full-time job.
Okay.
Yes, so I used to be a teacher.
Perfect. So this makes sense.
Yeah, which is also why I like the idea of education. And yeah, within the scenes, it was kind of like a marriage of my skill set.
Yeah, perfect.
And, yeah. So I mean, teaching in Singapore is it's a difficult job. I'm sure it is everywhere in the world, but over here it's really quite challenging. And I think I just kind of burnt out.
Yeah.
I just lost the love for the job.
Right.
I had been doing it for a good decade, and at the end I was like, this is I don't see myself doing this for the rest of my life.
Okay.
So I mean, I left knowing that I would be able to teach in private. So that was kind of like the backup plan, and to find some time to figure out what I wanted to do.
Right.
So I quit, and then I was married at that time, and so I was actually married to my dominant.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I was in a DS relationship with my ex-husband, a pretty long one. It went pretty well for quite a number of years. I mean, in the end we grew apart, but it was good while it lasted. And so we had like a lot of toys, tons of them.
I bet.
Like painstakingly, grown that collection like over a long, many years.
Right.
And I identify as a switch, so I can play both ways.
Yes.
Yes, and even when I was with my ex, we were poly, so I was exploring like my dominant side with a lot of people, and I've been doing that for quite a number of years already, prior to going pro. So I think it was probably him who suggested to me that I might want to try like pro-doming. I was like, why not? We already had the equipment. I didn't need to make that investment.
Right.
I was free.
Yeah, thank
I
God.
had the time. Yeah, and
So that's expensive too.
It is, yeah. It's actually very expensive to start out if you don't have anything.
Yeah. We mentioned that in season 1, episode 1 too. It's just like and we have had another dom on the show too, but it can, like in the other episode that the other dominatrix featured in, Ivy Hart, she was actually like, don't go into the community. She was actually like telling people to not join the community because she was like, well, there's not like a ton of money here, at least not in Vancouver at least, and you have to like, it's hard to find that consistency. So but the equipment was a big topic too, in terms of like, it's so expensive and it's such an investment.
Yeah,
so you're really lucky.
Yeah, I mean the quality stuff is expensive.
Very.
And it's even worse here because we don't have any makers in Singapore.
No,
so everything is imported.
Oh God.
So the local sex shops, like everything that they sell is marked up by 200% or something. It's insane.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So before like shopping online became so easy, it was very expensive to buy sex toys here. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's quite a lot.
Yeah, so every time I travel, I more or less come back with an extra suitcase full of new toys.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Good priorities there.
Yeah. People shop for clothes, but I just go to the different sex shops. Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that.
Brings me a lot more pleasure for sure.
For sure.
Yeah.
So that's crazy. So
that was really it. I mean, I at that point I was like, okay, I'll try, I'll give it a go. And I was initially a little bit afraid because I wasn't, more like safety. Being alone being alone in a room with your client, I wasn't sure if like anything would happen or how to really safeguard myself against that. So when I first started, I actually offered like sessions with a friend of mine.
Like duos.
Yeah. So we did like doubles only.
Yeah, just to have the other presence in the room, basically.
Yeah, exactly. So it was a lot safer. I mean, of course, we made the price point very attractive. So yeah, but it was still like a reasonable amount for the both of us. So that way we kept each other safe. It was also a lot easier in a sense because you're kind of, you can back each other up during session.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah.
That kind of works out for sure.
Even if you don't have like much chemistry with the client, it was fine because you could just chat with each other. Yeah.
Right. At what point did you start feeling comfortable doing it by yourself?
So we did that for just a couple of months, really. She was in between jobs at that time, so when she found her full-time job, which was quite soon after, she didn't have the time to do this anymore. So when that happened, then I had to start doing it on my own. But by then I was pretty much comfortable already.
Okay. Yeah, because I know a lot of people wanting to get into whether it is domming or escorting, like situations where you have to be alone with a client, like safety is always a big question. Like, I guess we'll kind of go over it right now really quickly, but how are some ways that you can protect yourself?
A safe call, for sure. So so like right now, my fiance is, I'm getting remarried. My fiance is always aware of my. Thank you. Yeah, he's always aware of my session. So I, as a rule of thumb, I'm supposed to text him like when I start and when I end. So he has access to my schedule, so he knows like exactly how long the session should last. And if I don't text him, like 15 minutes where I'm supposed to have, he will start to like text me and ask me, is everything okay?
Yeah, totally.
So he knows where I am, and of course he'll like show up if anything goes wrong.
Right. That's so great that you have that support.
Yes. Yeah. So I think a safe call is really, really important. Yeah. Yeah. Other than that, I think just honestly, it's very hard to safeguard yourself against someone who comes with the intention of harming you, right, or of hurting you. That's really not much
you can do
in such circumstances.
You just have to
scream,
kind of
make a lot of noise, I guess. I don't know.
I mean, you've never been, I mean, knock on wood, but you've never been in that situation.
No, I've been very lucky.
That's good.
Oh yes, actually there is one more thing you can do, which is to screen very carefully.
Yes, definitely. Screening and filtering your clients. And how do you do that online? Like, there's certain questions you have to ask them, and do you take any type of deposits or anything like that?
Yes. So I make them fill up a contact form, and I only get back to the clients that I feel are first of all, that that we can mesh. If what they're asking for are clearly like things that I've stated are my boundaries, then they haven't taken the time to read my website in detail. So then I don't think it will be a very good match. Yeah. So that's number one. And then after that, I do ask for a deposit. So it's really just to show that they're sincere, because I want to protect myself against time wasters. Yeah, more so than like people who might want to like take advantage of you. I think time wasters are a real problem.
Yes, there are. Like,
Yeah. Yes.
that's like another like thing that was brought up with Miss Sadie on episode 1 too. She's like, well, if you can't fill up like my form properly, then and you like you're asking for things that I don't even offer. It's just like, well, one, you fail at reading, and two, it's just like, well, you're a big time waster basically.
Yes.
Which no one appreciates.
Yeah. Correct. Yeah. And the last thing I do actually like engage them in a negotiation via text prior to the session. So a couple of days beforehand, I will like, just text them for about, it's not a long time really, like 15 minutes or so. And from their responses, it's actually, you can actually kind of tell, what kind of person they will be, or just clarify, I use it to clarify their limits, what they expect.
Right. Just so you guys are on the same page with everything.
Yeah, so correct. So you can tell from that short conversation, whether they're what kind of person they are, whether they're sane or or otherwise.
Or like not okay.
Yeah. I mean, it's not foolproof, but there's not much else you can do, I think.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's really quite similar to how things are done in North America then too. That's really kind of cool.
Okay.
Yeah, because I just wanted to see like, is there anything different that you guys would do? But I think in your situation with your fiance with the call, I think that's really interesting. I haven't heard of that one before yet, so that one's really, really cool.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that.
No problem. And I do tell my clients beforehand that's happening. So. Yeah. I mean, if they have no intention of doing anything funny, they should be totally comfortable with it.
Totally. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Very cool. Okay, cool. I want to pivot the conversation now over to, I guess, Singapore in general and the conservative views that Singapore has in terms of sex work, and also how gray it is. Because I was reading up on the laws, and it sounds kind of similar to Canada.
You couldn't find much, right?
And there wasn't a lot. And that's another thing, too. There were articles, but there was nothing, like, specific.
Yeah. I know.
Yeah.
I have no idea, really. It's very verbose. And just very ambiguous.
Very. And just unclear to me.
Yeah.
Like, what exactly is legal. I read that, like, prostitution is legal.
Yes.
But you can't live off the means of any kind of sex
so
work
pimps are illegal. Pimping is illegal.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, so they want to discourage like syndicates, or basically just pimps, I guess. Yeah. So those are definitely like not legal, and they do like have like sting operations to find catch these people.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Well, that's good at least. Thank God, because that's really those can be really potentially really scary situations to be in with pimps and johns. Yeah, so it's good that that's outlawed at least.
Yeah, but I think in general, if you are a local female, and you engage in sex work on your own terms, it's actually considered legal. Yeah.
Can you go in more detail about that? Like, how can you kind of elaborate?
Okay, so paying for sex or being paid for sex in Singapore it's legal, but you cannot solicit in a public space. That's what I understand.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah, so you cannot walk the streets. That's definitely illegal.
Right.
And I suppose you cannot like even on online, even in the online space, you cannot be the one to approach.
Oh, okay, but people can approach you.
I think so.
Something. Okay, yeah. Again, it was really gray when I was doing research on this.
Yes.
I'm like, why is this so confusing?
Yeah. I mean, I've spoken to friends who are lawyers. Even they are like, we're not sure.
Really?
It's
That's
very
crazy.
case by case. It's like when something becomes a case, then you'll find out like exactly what's right or what's not.
That's such an unfortunate way to figure things out.
Yes.
I feel like maybe they're doing it on purpose to make it so confusing, just so people just won't engage in any type of sex work.
That is a theory, yes. Yeah.
That's crazy.
A very plausible one too, I think so, yes.
And I wanted to because since sex work is definitely taboo. I don't want to say kind of, it's definitely taboo. I read about something like an area in Singapore called the Orchard Towers.
Okay, yes.
Yeah, like
they call it the 4 floors of horrors.
Yes, I was just going to bring that up. Like,
Yes.
Is this an accurate depiction? That's crazy. Do you have much knowledge about the Orchard Towers at all?
Sorry, can you come again?
Oh, sorry. Do you have much, I guess, knowledge in terms of the Orchard Towers and what goes on in there? From what I understand, 4 floors of horrors. There's different clubs and bars that are there.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I've been there a handful of times. It's actually just a building with like lots of nightclubs.
Okay.
Yeah, so every level, there are a couple of nightclubs, and then there are some other establishments like eateries and hot dog stands to feed the drunken people, after clubbing. Yeah, but so these clubs, they usually have a lot of hostesses.
Yes.
Yeah. So, and the hostesses, they are usually foreigners, usually I think largely Thai or PRC.
Wow.
I am not sure where else, but the ones that I've seen tend to be from these 2 countries.
Wow. Okay.
And gorgeous, very pretty.
Yeah.
So they're very forward, I guess, when you show up, especially if you're male and alone.
Yeah, totally. And this is something that's like totally more prevalent in Asian culture rather than
I think so.
than the American culture. Like, can you describe to us what or kind of define what exactly a host bar is for those listening who don't know what it is? Yeah.
You mean this doesn't? You don't have this at all in America?
Not really. There are some places in LA and like K-Town that will have host bars, but there's maybe one club in Vancouver that might do it, but that I'm still not really sure. But in general, not really. I would say a resounding no.
Okay. Wow. Yeah, it's very, very common.
Very common in
many parts of Asia.
Yes.
So a host or hostess bar is basically a club, a nightclub where you come in, you get a drink, and then women. So these women actually work for the establishment. They'll come to your table and like chat with you, and they'll stay there for a little while. To buy them a drink. So if you buy them a drink, then they will sit with you. Yeah, and have conversation or play games. I think different clubs have different rules. Like, you're not supposed. Yeah, so certain clubs are like you're not supposed to engage in any like sexual activity in the club, and there are rules like you're not supposed to hook up with these ladies outside. So they cannot solicit like on the premises, but I mean in general it does happen. It's quite common. It's quite common. So that's basically what a host bar is.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much for explaining that for those who don't know what a host bar is.
No problem. But sometimes they perform as well, so it's quite interesting. If you go to a Thai club, the ladies will go on stage and sing or dance.
Yes.
And then after that they will rotate. Oh, and while they're on stage, you can actually pay. You can pay money to buy them like a garland.
Oh, a garland. Okay.
Yes, garlands of like flowers.
Oh yeah.
Or sashes. Depending on the club. Yeah. So I mean you can, and sometimes people like pay quite a lot of money for these.
Really? That is so interesting.
And then the lady will go to the table, that has like paid the most.
Yeah, of course, and spend more time with those patrons.
Yeah,
that's so interesting, and they definitely have that like a lot in like Thailand, and even like Japan too with the maid cafes. Yes.
And in Japan they have such clubs for women where it's the guys who are circling the tables.
Yes. I remember like my sister used to live in Japan, and she was telling me about this Prince bar where she's like, oh, you have to go like when you're here next time. I never actually got to go around to this establishment, but she's like, oh, like they basically like, oh, like they're almost like your butler for whatever time that you're in there, and they're like, what would you like to drink, and like they'll call you my princess and stuff like that. I was like, oh, I would love that.
Yeah, I watched like some documentaries on that, and it's quite interesting that like women and men look for very different things at such places.
Totally, and I feel like it's different, like both men and women, because I feel with men they're looking for attention and companionship. I would say, and women are looking more for like the quality time. I would say
the conversation, you know, the good,
it's super different, but sidebar there.
Yeah.
So interesting. So with the host bars, and that's mainly what's in Orchard Towers.
Orchard Towers, yes.
But there's nothing actual. There's no actual sex, or
no, there are no brothels in Orchard Towers itself. Yeah. Right. So I mean, if they do hook up, then they will go to a hotel like nearby. Yep. Right. Plenty. Yeah. But we have like a red light district. Yes. Yeah. So that's where the actual brothels are.
Oh, okay. Yes, I read about that too. Do you have much information on that as well?
So it's in this place called Geylang.
Yes.
But Geylang is also very popular for its food. Oh. And it has plenty of small streets. So each street is called a lorong. Lorong is Malay for street. Okay. And they're numbered, right? So like lorong 1, 2, 3, and so on and so forth. And so the brothels are on certain streets, and then the food places are on the others. Oh, interesting. The brothels, they all have a huge red lantern like outside to show that, to indicate that that's what that building is. Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's really interesting. Yeah. So it's pretty like blatantly obvious.
I don't know very much. This one I've never been, but it's kind of like common knowledge, I guess. Yeah.
Oh, right. Yeah, I did read about Geylang, and I was like, oh, okay. Like that's really interesting. They have a designated area. Something.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Interesting. Wow. That's crazy. I wanted to, crazy. I think it's just really, really particularly interesting, but
yeah. I mean, in a country like Singapore, right, where it's kind of, it's very modern, and then but also conservative, but they have these things going on. It's very interesting.
It's very interesting to observe too, because it's just like, okay, sex work is taboo, but then you have like these, as you said, with the lanterns and everything, like kind of explicitly, like, it's there.
Yeah.
So it's very.
But I think it's taboo because the mindset that people have is that sex work is only done by a certain group of people, and and what they know of sex work is just Geylang.
Right. Yeah.
You see.
Yeah. They only.
So the idea is that the women are not empowered. So yeah.
Right. Yeah, and just the views in terms of Asian culture. You mentioned it really early on in the podcast too, but like, sex work is rooted in Singapore is rooted in Asian values. Can you please elaborate on that too?
Okay, so there's a lot there.
It's a big topic. Get your tickets to Sugar and Sex Festival.
Asian values are they're very steeped in virtue.
Yes.
And so for women in particular, things like virginity is very important. So first of all, like women are seen to be quite inferior to men in Asia, because in many cultures, the boys are the ones that are like families want boys more than they want girls.
Yes.
It was a real problem, where in China, especially with the like one child policy, they were actually like killing the baby girls so that they could have a boy instead.
Right.
And in a lot of, I mean, I wouldn't say all, but in a lot of Asian cultures, girls are seen to be like inferior. So they don't have access to education, or with the boys that get to go like to study, for example.
Right.
Yeah. So today, of course, it's different. But even then, there are still families to prioritize like the boys over the girls.
Right.
So for girls, it's like all you have is your virginity, and it's this precious gift that you save for your future husband.
Yeah,
because it's tied to your value as a person.
Yes, you have to protect it. Like it's sacred.
Yeah, it's sacred. Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I know it's very ridiculous if you think about it.
It's very ridiculous.
Yeah, but that's yeah. Yes, but that's but these are like some of the underlying currents in society, and there are still a lot of people who are very conservative, in that regard. I'm not saying that they think that like boys are more important today, but the idea that a female has to be virtuous, has to be like has to take care of her family, take care of her husband, is always the one to sacrifice first for her husband and her kids. That kind of mindset, yeah, that's very, very prevalent. So when you see a female who is sex positive and who has no qualms about like using her body or her sexuality, it's taboo. It's frowned upon.
Very, very frowned upon. Totally.
Yes.
And it's prevalent in like most. I don't want to generalize, but it kind of is true in most Asian countries.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
I feel like
so you dress conservatively, you don't show too much, all that. Yeah, if not, you get stares and frowns.
Oh yes, that's my mother. That's 100% my mom.
Well, yeah, I mean, same, right? It never gets old. Like,
no,
even if you're an adult, it's still.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, I'm 30, my mom's still like, you're showing too much cleavage. I'm like, Mom, I don't even have cleavage. Like, come on. Like, relax.
Mine will just ask. I mean, when I was still living with her, she'll be like, are you sure you're not going to be cold?
Yeah, are you sure? That's totally a common, very polite term. That means that you're not wearing enough clothes.
Yes.
It's really interesting. Yeah, like it's, well, for the panel that we were going to be on, we really wanted to talk about these stark differences between Asian culture and also with North American culture. And, it's very, very prolific here in terms of sex work. It's more, I don't want to say more, but definitely in terms of Singapore's case, it's a lot more accepted, or at least there's a lot more strides to make it more widely accepted too. So
yeah,
like for instance, I'm in Canada, in Vancouver, and I'm an exotic dancer, and it's pretty, I would say, quote unquote, normal to be a stripper. There's just so many girls here that I know and that have been on the podcast too, where it's kind of normalized, and it's like a cool thing to do almost. Like it just seems so normal. Like, oh yeah, you're a stripper. What club do you work at? Oh, look, cool. I know this person and that. It's just it's very casual conversation, as opposed to
so we don't have strip clubs here.
No,
that's illegal. Yeah, we don't. Right. Yeah, but we have host bars.
Host bars,
have strip clubs. Yeah.
Totally, yeah. So, but it's just different too, like in terms of like certain sex work, how it's viewed and stuff too, in terms of like East versus West mentality. Yeah, so
yeah.
I also want to pivot the conversation over as well in terms of like how you have been able to adapt with COVID, in terms of your work. Okay. Yeah, because that's made it tricky for all of us. Doesn't matter what type of sex work, for everything and for everyone. So feel free to go into that.
So in Singapore, we had a lockdown. I mean, as with most other countries.
Yes.
In I think it was April or May. Can't quite remember. So there were already some warning signs that it was going to happen. So it wasn't exactly unexpected. And of course, when the numbers started to climb, I had already cut down the number of sessions that I was taking,
right.
More or less to safeguard myself. So when the lockdown started, my volume was already quite low, and I was prepared. I was prepared to weather, a couple of months,
right,
of that. Yeah, and so we were on lockdown for about 2 months, I think, 6 to 8 weeks. I'm not too sure.
Yes.
Yeah, and then they reopened. So even the reopening it's in phases. So it's not like immediately, everything goes back to normal. So currently we are in phase 2.
Okay.
Phase 1 was not very different from the lockdown itself, except that we were allowed to you could start to go out as a family to buy groceries, that kind of thing. But restaurants were still not open.
Right.
So there was no outdoor dining. So that only started in phase 2. So right now, I've restarted sessions, but at a really low volume. You can go out, you can eat in restaurants in like groups no bigger than 5.
Right.
Cinemas are reopening, but you have to wear a mask throughout. Yeah, so it's slow. I think we have 1 or 2 more phases to go before things go back to like full normal, but I think we're going to be here for a while.
Yeah. Yeah, I hear you. Like things over here have kind of reopened a little bit. Well, we're basically in phase 3 out of 4.
Okay.
But cases have started to go up again earlier this month, so I don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, same here. Yeah.
Which is really frustrating.
So we'll see. Yeah, I mean, we're really hoping that we're not going to go back into lockdown, but see.
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
So I mean, on my end in terms of work, on one hand, I was like really happy to have that break.
Yeah.
It's like a forced break, because I think when you do your own business, it's very hard to say like, okay, I'm going to take some time off.
Totally.
Or like this is all I'm going to work. This is enough. As long as the business comes in, you kind of just want to keep doing it.
Yeah.
For financial reasons, of course, and also like I enjoy my work, so I like working.
Absolutely.
But the downside is that you burn out, or you just get really, really exhausted. So I think that was kind of like the state I was in, just prior to like the COVID becoming a thing, and it forced me to really take a break, which was great. I have not slept so much.
It's nice, isn't it?
In a long time. Yeah, like I look so much younger. It's amazing.
It's a good chance for us to reset.
Yeah. But so I think the biggest change to my business was that I used to only take in-person sessions. So I had to be like face-to-face with the client. And when I was on lockdown, that was not possible. So I had to start exploring online alternatives. Yeah, and I was a little bit late to the game because I know there are a lot of pro-doms that have a pretty strong online presence already with like courses or like videos or, and whatnot online.
Yes.
So I kind of started with close to nothing. So I more or less spent like the time in lockdown just like recording content. And I couldn't compete with them in terms of numbers because I didn't have all this prep work done. So my route instead was like bespoke content. So I did online domination, but I focused more on like making it very individualized, very tailored for individual clients.
Right. Yeah. And how is that switch, like in terms of like going online, how has that switch been for you? It can be like a really, really slow burn at the beginning. So I want to see if you felt that too.
Yeah, it was a very, very slow burn. Yes.
Yeah.
And it was also, I mean, to be honest, it was like a lot more hours for a lot less return.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like it's a lot of work.
So it is a lot of work. Yeah. Because you can't demand the same kind of like pay that you would get from an in-person meet.
Right.
For an in-person session. Yeah. So you've got to, so in the end, the hours really, really add up. That was difficult to make even like a good portion of what I used to make on a good month.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, like, this is the times that we're in now, so...
Yes, exactly. Yeah, so you have to adapt.
Yeah, absolutely. Adapt or die. I like that.
Yes.
I'm gonna steal that.
Yeah.
Well, I guess with that, do you have anything else to add there, too, in terms of, like...
Yeah, I was going to say that actually it has helped me to reach out to a lot more people because so I was forced to like really step up my Twitter game and and start selling like content online. I started an OnlyFans page.
Good.
And it's helped me to reach like a lot more people, and some of that has translated into in-person sessions, which is great.
Yeah, that's really really great. Good return for you.
Yeah,
so.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, it really opens up your network, and also, like, we wouldn't have met if it wasn't for COVID, so...
True, yes.
We wouldn't be speaking right now, so there's a silver lining to everything, right? So...
Yes.
Some good pros. But
yeah, more sleep, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yes.
But there are just a few questions here too that I want to we could start slowing down the conversation here.
Okay.
But yeah, there is a few questions, so we'll kind of go over that, and then at the very end, I forgot to mention before, but there will be a chance for you to market yourself too. So all your links, all your OnlyFans, all that stuff, we can mention at the end of the show. So I guess the first question is, and we've already kind of went through this already, but if there's anything else you want to add, you can. In your own words, how are sex workers treated / perceived in Singapore?
Yeah, not well.
Yeah, not well is one of them.
Yeah. The general idea is that, people here, you don't engage in sex work out of empowerment. Like you don't do it because because you want to, but because you have to.
Right. And that's like the only view that they have of sex work, basically.
Yes, because they cannot perceive, that they cannot conceive of the idea that someone would want to do it.
Yeah. That mentality just doesn't exist.
Yes.
That's really crazy.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. It seems so archaic and old. But anyways, I'm lucky and I'm in Canada. Here's a good question. What is your self-love routine for when you switch off work?
Okay, so for me, it's really spending time with my cat.
That's lovely.
She's a real sweetheart, and she's just like she brings my stress down, So when I'm like tired at the end of the day, I come home and she's always waiting at the door for me.
Oh.
And then she does this like very cute like meow, and she'll roll over to like, she wants me to like rub her belly.
Of course.
And it just gets rid of all my stress. So I spend a fair bit of time every evening like just carrying her. Yeah.
She sounds very sweet.
But yeah, self-love. Yeah, I do a lot of things to keep myself happy. I take a lot of classes like exotic dance, like that you teach.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very, very cool.
I learn French. I think my hobby is like learning.
Yeah, I think so too. It sounds like it.
Yeah.
Not a bad thing. Always keep learning, right?
Yes.
Student forever.
Yeah.
In your opinion, what is the reason anyone gets into being a sub or a dom?
Oh, okay. Wow. I think, I actually believe that every one of us is to a certain extent kinked. It's a spectrum, it's not, you're not either like kinky or non-kinky. I mean, so everyone exists like on a spectrum.
Mm-hmm.
It's just how kinky you are, I guess. And whether you identify as being dom or a sub, that's really, I think it depends largely on like who you're with. Sometimes also your introduction to the scene.
Right.
Like when I first joined, it was very easy to just identify as being sub male.
Right.
And I was young. Yes. So yeah, it was like the easiest, like pigeonhole to fit into. And so it was only after when I became a bit more experienced and daring that I started to explore like other roles.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but of course today it's different, right?
It's very different, yeah.
Yes.
Cool.
Yeah, but yeah, so I switch. So for me, it really depends who I'm with. Yeah.
That's a large part of it too, in terms of like
yes,
who you are participating with and engaging with.
Exactly. The energy.
The energy for sure, and the connection, that all comes into play for sure.
Yes.
Is there a particular characteristic that draws people to either role of subbing or doming?
Control, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Power.
Power. There's a very big there's this idea that like people are often they very inverse from what they are like in their day-to-day life. So like people in very dominant roles in their work tend to want to submit, and people who are very subservient at work tend to want to dominate. I found this to be true in some cases, but not always. Yeah, so I think we're all people are just people, right? We're all different.
Exactly.
Your motivations will not be the same from others. I would like to say though that like a lot of people tend to think that kinky people have had certain trauma in their childhood,
right.
which is to be blamed for why they like certain things.
Yes.
I found this to be entirely untrue. If anything, the kinky people that I've met, my clients or friends from the scene, usually very intelligent people. Mostly professionals, and they come from like good, they've had like good childhoods, happy childhoods. You know, so.
Contrary to popular belief.
So no, I don't think there's a particular personality trait. Yeah, it's just
cool. And the last question is, are there communities which make it easier to get into subbing or domming?
Yes, for sure. Like when I started out, the group was largely heterosexual. And the men were like all in the dominant role. And the females were subsequently in the submissive role. So when you went in as a female and young, it was definitely easier to just assume the role of a submissive.
Right. Interesting.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. So I think maybe the makeup of the scene will kind of affect, like especially when you come in as a lesbian and you don't really know who you are or what you want. Yeah. If you already do, then that's good for you, right? But a lot of people don't. They come in like, I'm unsure.
Yeah, they don't really know what to do, and they're kind of just curious, but also shy and hesitant at the same time. So there's a lot there.
Yeah. Exactly. So the bigger personalities in the group, I think, will tend to sway, their mindsets.
Interesting. And again, thanks for sharing all that information in terms of like the BDSM community in Singapore and like how much it's grown. Like I think that's really fantastic and progressive too. So it's really cool to kind of see that and hear about that.
Well, thanks. This was a really fun chat.
Yes. But before I let you go, where can we find you?
So I am on Twitter at Dominatrix Amber.
Okay.
Also on Instagram under the same handle. And my website is the same, dominatrixamber.com.
Perfect. And even OnlyFans too as well?
Yes, I'm also on OnlyFans under the same handle.
Great, nice and easy. Yes. super simple, which is great. Well, it was so lovely chatting with you this morning. I feel like my voice is finally warmed up at the end of the episode.
No, I think you did great.
Thank you. You did an awesome job, and I'm so happy to have had you on to kick off season 2 today. So thank you. And we are so sad to not have you for next week on the Sugar and Spice Festival. But I'm really happy to connect here at least. Like, at least I had that opportunity because I feel like you have such a wealth of knowledge on the topic too. So thank you so much for that.
Thank you.
Get your tickets online, guys. My the panel that I will be moderating will be in a week from now, August 9th. If you want to stay up at 1 a.m., you can. But
is that what time it will be?
Oh my God! For me, yes, it will be 1 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock Singapore time. So
okay.
We'll see how I do then. But
I guess if it were like nighttime, my time, it would be manageable. But daytime for me is just going to be a problem. So.
Totally get it. Yes. But thank you so much for coming on to the show. It was a pleasure. Thank you, Miss Amber.
Thank you.
And we'll catch you guys in for another episode next week, August 9th. Another new episode for sure. No more bonus episodes. Catch me on Instagram at Strip by Sia or my personal Sia Steph, and we'll see you guys next week. Bye.
You're listening to Stripped by Sia, produced and hosted by Steph Sia, aka Kimchi, music by Ted D, photography by Ian Davern, and graphics by Maria